So get ready, because we're going deep today into a world of secret symbols and hidden meanings.
I love it.
The kind of stuff that's all around us, but we never really notice.
Yeah.
We're cracking open a book from 1882
Wow.
called Theology and Masonic Astronomy by Robert Brown.
Okay.
Think like Da Vinci Code meets Cosmos, but way before either of those were even a thing.
Right.
Yeah.
It's amazing how these symbols have been hidden in plain sight for centuries.
Yeah.
What I think is so fascinating about Brown's work is that he calls the knowledge in this book open secrets. That's what initially drew me to this topic, this idea that these powerful symbols are visible to everyone, but their true meanings are often obscured.
Open secrets.
Yeah.
I love that.
Right.
It's like a giant treasure hunt, and we've got the map.
Exactly.
We're also going to be pulling in some thoughts from Jordan Maxwell's foreword to the book,
Oh, cool.
which adds a whole other layer of intrigue to this mystery.
I like it.
You ready to decode some symbols?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's do it.
Okay. Maxwell makes a really interesting point about how symbols function.
Okay.
Think about it. They're like road signs
Yeah.
or brand logos conveying information, direction, or even ownership.
Right?
And that's what makes this so compelling.
Yeah.
When you start seeing these ancient astronomical symbols on churches, government buildings, even corporate logos,
Yeah.
it makes you wonder what they're really trying to say.
Right.
Who's behind these messages?
It's like a secret language whispered across time.
It is.
Brown kicks things off by taking us deep into the ancient mysteries of Egypt, India, and Greece.
Okay.
And he reveals that astronomy played a central role in these cultures,
Right.
shaping their beliefs and even their power structures.
And what's really mind-blowing is how advanced their understanding of astronomy was even back then.
Yeah.
These ancient priests could predict events like eclipses,
Wow.
which basically made them rock stars in their time. It was like having insider knowledge of the cosmos, gave them a direct connection to the divine.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Knowledge is power, right?
absolutely.
So they use their astronomy skills to solidify their authority and influence over people.
Right.
It's like the original Wizard of Oz situation.
Exactly.
But how does all this tie into Freemasonry?
Well,
There's got to be a connection there, right?
here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Brown argues that many Masonic traditions, symbols, and ceremonies are directly rooted in these ancient mysteries and their astronomical knowledge.
Okay.
So you're not just looking at random symbols,
Right.
you're looking at a direct link to ancient wisdom and cosmic understanding.
So it's like Freemasonry is carrying the torch of these ancient mysteries, keeping these open secrets alive.
Right.
Brown insists that he's not revealing anything that hasn't already been published by Masonic authorities, but it's still pretty mind-blowing stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the things that Brown highlights is how the layout of a Masonic lodge is actually a symbolic microcosm of the earth and the heavens.
Wow.
You can see this in how the lodge is symbolically illuminated from the east, south, and west, representing the sun's path throughout the day.
Okay.
It's almost as if they've built a miniature model of the cosmos within their meeting place.
I'm picturing it now. But
Yeah.
what about the people in the lodge?
Right.
Do they play a part in this cosmic tableau?
They absolutely do.
Okay.
Even the positioning of the officers reflects the sun's movement. You have the master in the east, associated with sunrise,
Yeah.
representing the opening of the day and governing.
Right.
Then you have the junior warden in the south,
Okay.
representing high noon and refreshment.
Right.
And finally, the senior warden sits in the west,
Okay.
symbolizing sunset and the closing of the day.
Wait, so it's like the entire lodge, from its layout to its members, is choreographed to mirror the movements of the sun.
It really is.
That's amazing. I never would have picked up on that level of symbolism just by walking into a lodge.
That's the thing about symbols, they work on multiple levels.
Right.
And Brown goes even deeper,
Okay.
showing how various Masonic symbols relate to the zodiac.
Okay.
For example, he talks about the symbol of the lamb representing Aries, the ram. The lamb, of course, represents innocence and purity,
Right.
which ties into the promise of spring and new beginnings associated with Aries.
So it's like they're taking these familiar astrological signs and imbuing them with deeper layers of meaning,
Exactly.
connecting them to universal themes of innocence and renewal.
Right.
It's almost like a secret code waiting to be deciphered.
It is.
What other zodiacal connections did Brown reveal?
He also discusses Libra, the balance,
Okay.
as a symbol of wisdom and reason. It's about finding that delicate balance in life.
Right.
Carefully weighing different perspectives and making informed decisions.
So it's not just about your horoscope. It's about incorporating those deeper philosophical and moral principles into your life.
Exactly.
It's almost like the zodiac becomes a guidebook for living.
It is.
What I find fascinating is how Brown connects this ancient wisdom to Masonic traditions.
He does a brilliant job of showing how these ancient symbols have been woven into the very fabric of Masonic rituals and beliefs. One of the key symbols he discusses is the royal arch, which represents the celestial sphere itself. Picture this, you're standing under this grand arch, and it's not just any arch, it's like a map of the entire night sky.
Wow.
That's the royal arch. And its keystone is placed at the summer solstice, marked with the symbol of the sun at its peak power and glory.
Wow.
It's almost as if they're capturing the essence of the sun's journey throughout the year.
Okay, now that's just plain cool.
It is.
They're literally building monuments to the cosmos.
Right.
This is making me think about how much symbolism is hidden in plain sight all around it.
Yeah.
And speaking of hidden stories, Brown also dives into the story of Hiram Abiff, a central figure in Masonic tradition. It's like this tale is where history and myth collide.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Hiram Abiff of Masonic tradition is more than just a historical figure.
Right.
He's a symbol, an archetype. And Brown's take on this story is really intriguing.
All right, spill the tea.
Okay.
How does Brown connect Hiram Abiff to all this astronomical symbolism we've been discussing?
He sees the Hiram Abiff story as a powerful allegory for the sun's annual journey. Hiram's death, which occurs before the temple he was building is complete.
Right.
Represents the sun's descent into the winter solstice, a time of darkness and decline.
I see.
Yeah.
So it's not just a tragic tale of a skilled craftsman.
No.
It's a story about the cyclical nature of life, death, and rebirth.
Right.
Mirrored in the sun's journey throughout the year.
Exactly.
It's a powerful reminder that even in darkness, there's always the promise of renewal.
And Brown even includes an allegorical poem to drive this point home. One line that really stood out to me reads, "The god received the fatal stroke and at the archer's feet fell dead."
Wow.
He's referring to the sun entering Sagittarius, which is represented by the archer in astrology. It's like they're mapping out the solar year within their own traditions.
Wow, that imagery is so vivid and powerful.
It is.
Okay, I need a moment to process all this.
Take your time.
Thank you.
But while you're mulling it over, think about this.
Okay.
Brown also dives into the importance of the cornerstone in Masonic tradition, particularly its placement in the northeast corner.
Right, the cornerstone, the foundation of the whole structure.
Exactly.
It's got to be more than just a random placement, right?
You got it.
Okay.
The northeast corner aligns with the rising sun at the summer solstice, a time of strength and renewal.
Right.
Remember how we talked about the lodge being symbolically illuminated from the east?
Right.
This placement reinforces that connection.
So every element, every detail is carefully chosen to reflect this astronomical allegory.
It really is.
It's incredible how much thought and symbolism they've packed into their traditions.
It is.
Okay, what about those iconic pillars?
Yeah.
Jachin and Boaz.
Right.
That stand before the entrance of King Solomon's temple.
Yes.
What role do they play in this cosmic drama?
Yes, Jachin and Boaz,
Yeah.
the pillars that have captivated the imaginations of scholars and conspiracy theorists alike.
Right.
Brown connects them to an ancient tradition of representing the sun and the moon, which aligns with how they're often interpreted in Masonic tradition.
Okay.
But here's a detail that might surprise you.
Okay.
Brown believes the pillars weren't topped with globes, as is commonly depicted, but by something entirely different.
Wait, hold up.
Yeah.
No globes?
Uh-huh.
What does he think was on top of those pillars instead?
He suggests that the descriptions in the Bible point to something more like ornate bowls, adorned with intricate network lilies and pomegranates.
These wouldn't be the academic globes representing the earth and heavens that we see in modern depictions.
So even within Masonic symbolism, there's a potential disconnect between the ancient origins and modern interpretations.
Absolutely.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
It's almost like a game of telephone, where the message gets slightly distorted as it's passed down through generations.
And that brings up a really important question about how symbolism evolves over time. Has the meaning been lost?
Right.
Or have we intentionally adapted these symbols to reflect our own understanding of the world?
It's like these symbols are living entities.
They are.
Constantly being reinterpreted and reimagined.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've explored the sun, the moon, the zodiac, and these incredible symbolic structures.
Yeah.
What other astronomical connections does Brown unravel for us?
He also delves into the significance of the number 7 in ancient cultures and Masonic traditions.
Okay.
You know how that number pops up everywhere in mythology and symbolism?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
The 7 deadly sins,
Right.
the 7 wonders of the world, the 7 chakras. The list goes on and on.
Exactly.
Right.
And Brown has a fascinating explanation for this obsession with the number 7.
Boy?
He reveals that the 7-day week has an astronomical origin, which might surprise you.
Okay.
It's based on the moon's 4 distinct phases, each lasting approximately 7 days.
Hold on. Are you telling me that our concept of a week is directly tied to the cycles of the moon?
I am.
That's mind-blowing.
It is. And it goes even deeper than that.
Right.
This ancient practice of assigning each day to a specific celestial body is reflected in the names of the days of a week.
Okay, I'm hooked.
Yeah.
Give me the rundown.
Okay.
I want to know how each day of the week connects to the cosmos.
All right, buckle up. It's actually pretty straightforward.
Okay.
Sunday is, of course, named after the sun.
Right.
Monday is Moon Day.
Okay.
Tuesday gets its name from Mars, or T, in Norse mythology. Wednesday comes from Mercury, or Woden.
Right.
Thursday is Jupiter's day, or Thor's day in Norse tradition. Friday is Venus's day, or Frigg's day in Norse mythology.
Okay.
And finally, Saturday is named after Saturn.
Wow, I had no idea the days of the week were so deeply rooted in astronomical observations.
Yeah.
It's like we're carrying these ancient connections with us every single day without even realizing it.
And that's the power of symbols. They endure.
Yeah.
They connect us to the past. And they can reveal hidden layers of meaning in our everyday lives.
I am floored.
Yeah.
This has been an incredible journey so far.
It has.
It's like we've only just begun to scratch the surface of this cosmic treasure map.
We've definitely uncovered some fascinating clues.
Yeah.
And there's much more to explore as we continue our deep dive into stellar theology and Masonic astronomy.
Right.
Buckle up, because we're just getting started.
Okay, I am buckled.
Ah.
Let's do it.
All right. And it's not just the days of the week. You see this astronomical symbolism woven into so many aspects of human culture, from architecture to religion to even our language.
It's wild. Like, we're surrounded by these whispers of ancient wisdom, but we've kind of forgotten how to listen to them. But getting back to Brown's book, he makes this really intriguing point about how some modern Masonic symbols might have strayed a bit from their original astronomical roots. He specifically mentions the academic globes often seen atop the pillars. Remember how we talked about those earlier?
Right, the whole globe versus ornate bowl debate. It makes you wonder about how knowledge is passed down through generations. Like, is it a case of misunderstanding, or have we intentionally adapted those symbols to fit our evolving worldview?
It's like that game of telephone where the message gets a little jumbled along the way. But even with those slight variations, Brown's central argument is that Freemasonry is deeply rooted in astronomical allegory, a symbolic language that speaks to profound truths about the universe and our place within it.
And that's what I think makes this so compelling. We're not just talking about a bunch of dusty old symbols. We're talking about a way of understanding the world, a way of connecting with something bigger than ourselves.
It's like they've created this intricate puzzle, and by decoding the symbols, we can unlock these profound insights into the nature of reality. This whole deep dive has me seriously rethinking how I look at symbols. It's like before I was just seeing the surface, but now I'm starting to glimpse the deeper layers of meaning.
I know what you mean. It's like suddenly you have this X-ray vision for symbolism. And that's what's so valuable about Brown's work. He's giving us the tools to decipher these symbols, to see them not just as decorations, but as carriers of meaning that have resonated across cultures and centuries.
Okay, so we've talked about how Brown connects Freemasonry to these ancient astronomical traditions, but one of the things that really surprised me was his claim that the original mysteries, those that influenced Freemasonry, actually taught the unity of God. That doesn't sound very secret society to me.
Yeah, it's definitely a surprising claim, especially when you consider how secret societies are often portrayed in popular culture. But Brown presents some pretty compelling evidence to back it up. He quotes extensively from ancient texts like Egyptian hymns and the Vedas. Those are the oldest sacred texts of Hinduism, right?
Yeah, exactly. I've actually read some excerpts from the Vedas. They're incredibly complex and poetic.
And they emphasize this concept of a single, all-encompassing divine force. So even though these ancient cultures might have had elaborate pantheons of gods and goddesses, the underlying belief was in a single unified source of all creation.
So it's not about worshiping a bunch of separate deities. It's about recognizing the different facets of this one ultimate reality.
Yeah.
That kind of reframes my whole understanding of ancient religion.
And what's really fascinating is how Brown connects this concept of the unity of God to Masonic symbolism. He points to symbols like the all-seeing eye, which is often interpreted as representing a divine presence that oversees and guides humanity.
Okay, I'm starting to see how Brown weaves all these threads together. Ancient mysteries, astronomical allegories, and Masonic traditions, all pointing towards this profound understanding of the divine. It's like he's cracking a cosmic code right before our eyes. But I have to ask, if these were universal truths, why all of the secrecy? If these mysteries were meant to enlighten humanity, wouldn't it make sense to share them openly?
That's a question that's puzzled scholars and seekers for centuries. Brown suggests that in ancient times, openly challenging the belief in multiple gods could have been downright dangerous. Remember, most cultures worship the sun, the moon, and the stars as deities. Imagine the uproar if someone came along and said, nope, it's all just one god. They might have been met with some serious resistance, maybe even violence.
So it's like these mysteries served as a way to preserve this knowledge, to keep it safe from those who might misunderstand or misuse it.
Exactly. It's a reminder that knowledge can be a double-edged sword. In the wrong hands, it can be dangerous, but in the right hands, it can be a source of power and enlightenment. And that's what makes these symbols so intriguing. They hold the keys to unlocking ancient wisdom, but they also force us to grapple with the responsibility that comes with knowledge.
It's like those ancient mysteries knew that knowledge needed to be earned, that it shouldn't be handed out like candy. You have to be willing to do the work to decode the symbols, to peel back the layers of meaning. And maybe that's why Freemasonry emerged as a way to carry this ancient knowledge forward, even after the original mysteries had faded from view.
That's a really interesting perspective. It's like they became the guardians of this secret knowledge entrusted with preserving it for future generations. And maybe that's why Masonic symbols are still so prevalent today, even in unexpected places. They're like whispers from the past, reminding us of this ancient wisdom that's been passed down through the ages.
Okay, I have to admit, this whole deep dive is making me question everything I thought I knew about symbols and secret societies. It's like I've been walking around with blinders on, and now Brown is helping me take them off and see the world with new eyes.
And that's exactly what this is all about. It's about challenging our assumptions, exploring new perspectives, and realizing that there's always more to learn, more to uncover. We've just scratched the surface of Brown's book, but even this brief glimpse into his work has opened up a whole new world of meaning for me. What about you? What's standing out to you as we delve deeper into this exploration of symbolism?
Honestly, I'm still wrapping my head around Brown's assertion that these ancient mysteries were all about teaching the unity of God. I mean, it makes sense when you think about it, but it's just not the narrative we usually hear about secret societies and ancient rituals. It's like he's turning the whole story on its head.
I know, right? It really challenges our preconceived notions about these traditions. But that's the beauty of deep dives like this. They force us to reconsider what we thought we knew and to embrace new ways of seeing the world.
And speaking of seeing the world in new ways, Brown also delves into the evolution of symbolism over time. He argues that some modern Masonic symbols, like those academic globes atop the pillars, might have deviated from their original astronomical roots. It makes you wonder how much has been lost or changed in the transmission of this ancient knowledge.
That's a great question. And it raises all sorts of intriguing possibilities. Is it a case of misinterpretation, intentional adaptation, or maybe even a deliberate attempt to obscure the original meaning? It's like a detective story trying to trace the lineage of these symbols and uncover the truth behind their evolution.
I love that analogy. It's like we're symbol detectives piecing together clues from ancient texts, Masonic rituals, and even the architecture of their lodges.
Exactly. And as we follow these clues, we might uncover some unexpected twists and turns along the way. Remember, we're dealing with open secrets here, so there's bound to be some debate and differing interpretations.
That's what makes it so much fun. It's not about finding one definitive answer. It's about exploring the possibilities, asking the tough questions, and engaging in a meaningful dialogue about these powerful symbols and their impact on human culture.
Absolutely. And speaking of tough questions, there's one that's been lingering in my mind throughout this whole discussion. If these ancient astronomical symbols represent such powerful ideas and knowledge, why were they kept secret in the first place? Brown touches on this, mentioning the potential dangers of challenging religious orthodoxy in ancient times. But is that the whole story?
I'm not so sure. It makes you wonder who benefits from keeping this knowledge hidden even today. Is it about protecting the sanctity of these traditions, or is there something more at play here?
No, those are some seriously thought-provoking questions. It's like we've stumbled onto a conspiracy within a conspiracy. But seriously, it's crucial to approach these questions with a critical and discerning mind. We don't want to jump to conclusions or fall prey to wild speculation.
Right, it's important to stay grounded in the evidence and to be open to multiple perspectives. But at the same time, it's okay to question the narrative, to challenge the status quo, and to consider the possibility that there might be more to the story than meets the eye.
And that's the essence of critical thinking, isn't it? It's about being both skeptical and open-minded, to weigh the evidence carefully and to draw our own conclusions based on the information available.
Exactly. It's like we're being initiated into the mysteries ourselves, learning to decipher the symbols, to read between the lines, and to uncover the hidden truths that have been whispered across the ages.
And that's a journey that's both exciting and daunting. But with a curious mind and a healthy dose of skepticism, we can navigate this labyrinth of symbols and emerge with a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us.
Okay, I'm ready to dive even deeper into these mysteries. What other secrets does Brown reveal as we continue our exploration of stellar theology and Masonic astronomy?
Well, one of the most fascinating aspects of Brown's analysis is his interpretation of the Hiram Abiff story, not just as a historical account, but as a powerful allegory for the sun's annual journey.
We touched on this earlier, but I'm eager to hear more about how he fleshes out that connection. It's amazing how just looking at these symbols in a different way changes everything.
It really does.
Like, before this deep dive, I thought of symbols as just being pretty static.
Yeah.
Like images with fixed meanings.
Right.
But now I'm starting to see them as these dynamic living things.
Yeah.
Constantly evolving and being reinterpreted.
That's a great point, and Brown really emphasizes that in his book.
Right.
He argues that symbols are fluid, open to interpretation, and they can even change their meaning over time as our understanding of the world evolves.
Like each generation adds its own layer of meaning.
Exactly.
To these ancient symbols, making them relevant to their own time and place. It's almost like a conversation across the centuries, a way of connecting with the wisdom of our ancestors and carrying it forward into the future.
I love that analogy of a conversation across time.
Right.
And it makes me think about how important it is to approach these symbols with humility and an open mind.
Yeah.
We can't assume that we have all the answers.
Right.
Or that our interpretation is the only valid one.
Totally. It's like we're all students in this grand school of symbolism, and we're constantly learning and evolving our understanding. But getting back to Brown's book, one of the things that really stuck with me was his analysis of the Hiram Abiff story.
Okay.
It's like he sees it as this multi-layered allegory with astronomical, spiritual, and even moral dimensions.
Absolutely. It's a story that's been told and retold for centuries, and each retelling adds new layers of meaning and significance.
Yeah.
Brown's interpretation, focusing on the sun's annual journey, is just one way of understanding this rich and complex tale.
Right, and what's so fascinating about that interpretation is how it connects to this broader theme of death and rebirth that we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Hiram's death represents the sun's descent into the winter solstice, a time of darkness and decline.
Right.
But it's not the end of the story.
Right.
There's always the promise of renewal,
of
the sun's return at the vernal equinox, bringing light and life back to the world.
It's such a powerful metaphor for the cycles of nature and the human experience.
Right.
We all go through periods of darkness and difficulty, but those experiences can ultimately lead to growth, transformation, and new beginnings.
It's like that saying, the darkest hour is just before the dawn.
Exactly.
There's always hope, even when things seem bleakest.
And that message of hope is what makes these ancient symbols so enduring.
Yeah.
They remind us that we're not alone in our struggles, that there's a deeper meaning and purpose to our lives, and that even in the face of adversity, we have the power to overcome and emerge stronger than before.
I don't know about you, but after this deep dive, I feel like I have a whole new appreciation for the power of symbols. It's like they're not just pretty pictures. They're keys to unlocking deeper levels of understanding about ourselves and the universe around us.
I couldn't agree more. It's been a real privilege to explore these fascinating concepts with you.
The feeling is mutual. Well, that about wraps it up for today.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into stellar theology and Masonic astronomy. We'll be back soon with another exploration into the fascinating world of knowledge. Until then, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.